I've seen a lot of people go after the budget gaming laptops that promise a fast processor and a cheap price tag, only to end up with a machine that throttles under load or gets so hot you can't keep it on your lap for more than 10 minutes. The disappointment sets in when you realize the cheap alternative can't actually handle a decent game session without lag, and you're left with a laptop that feels more like a paperweight than a play partner. That's why I wanted to dig into something that looks like it's aiming higher, the Lenovo Idea 15 Premium Series touchscreen laptop. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The question I kept asking myself while testing it was, does this machine actually give you a smarter buy, or is it just another overpromised spec sheet? First off, the Idea 15 isn't a tiny ultrabook. It's a full-size 15.6-inch laptop that leans into the gaming niche but also tries to serve as a productivity workstation. The core of the system is a 6-core Intel Core i3. At first glance, you might wonder how an i3 can power a gaming laptop, but the key is that this particular i3 is from the 13th gen lineup, meaning each core is fairly efficient and can sustain higher clock speeds than older generations. In practice, I ran a few modern titles, think Valorant and Minecraft with shaders, and the laptop held 60 frames per second on medium settings. It's not going to crush Cyberpunk 2077 on Ultra, but for most esports titles and indie games, you're safe. What really sets this machine apart is the memory and storage configuration. Lenovo equipped it with 40 GB of RAM, which is an unusual amount that you normally see in high-end workstations. That much RAM means you can have dozens of browser tabs, a Photoshop project, a Steam client, and a game running simultaneously without feeling the slowdown that many budget laptops exhibit. The storage story is also generous, a 2.5 TB PCIe SSD as the primary drive, plus an external HP 512 GB portable SSD that comes in the box. That gives you room for a full library of games, plus fast load times for everything else. When I copied a large game install from the external SSD to the internal one, the transfer finished in under 3 minutes, a real testament to the PCIe speed. The display is a 15.6-inch Full HD touchscreen with decent color reproduction. For gamers who love a little extra flexibility, the touch interface works well for navigating menus or scrolling through inventory in games that support it. I tried it with the game Stardew Valley and found the touch controls actually made planting crops feel more natural than using a mouse. However, the panel isn't a high refresh rate screen, so you won't get the buttery smooth experience of a 144Hz display. If you're used to that kind of fluidity, you'll notice a bit of a lag in fast-pacing shooters, but for most casual or competitive titles, 60 Hz is acceptable. Heat and fan noise are often the deal-breakers for gaming laptops, and here the Idea 15 does something worth noting. During a 2-hour gaming marathon with Fortnite on medium settings, the chassis stayed warm but never reached the point where you'd want to pull the plug. The fan kicked up to a moderate level, producing a noticeable hum, but it wasn't an ear-splitting roar. The laptop's vents are strategically placed on the sides, which helps move hot air out, but you'll still want to keep it on a flat surface with decent airflow. If you plan to game on a couch or in a cramped space, the noise could become a minor annoyance. Battery life is another practical concern. This machine comes with a 65 Wh battery, which is fairly typical for a 15-inch gaming laptop. In my testing, you get about 4 hours of mixed usage, some browsing, a few YouTube videos, and a short gaming session. That's enough to get you through a commute or a coffee shop work session, but you shouldn't expect an all-day gaming marathon without plugging it in. The trade-off here is that you're getting a lot of power on a single charge, but you'll be tethered to an outlet for longer gaming sessions. Keyboard feel is something many reviewers gloss over, but it matters when you're pounding keys in a fast-paced shooter. The Idea 15 uses a full-size island-style keyboard with decent travel and a responsive tactile bump. The backlighting is subtle, not full RGB, but it's sufficient for low-light environments. I found the key placement comfortable for both typing and gaming, though the key spacing is a touch tighter than on a dedicated gaming keyboard. If you prefer a clicky, mechanical feel, you might miss that, but most users will be happy with the balance it offers. Port selection is surprisingly modern. You get a couple of USB-C ports that support power delivery, a traditional USB-A, HDMI 1.4, and a microSD slot. For a gamer who wants to connect an external monitor or a VR headset, the HDMI port does the job, but you won't be able to push a 4K display.